Good evening, dear learner, and welcome to a new journey to. If you enjoy stories that not only inspire your heart, but also sharpen your English, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss the next lesson. And remember, watch until the end to see how this tale can change the way you learn and remember forever. Now, let me ask you this. What if the real treasure hidden inside your mind was not intelligence, but memory? And what if the reason you often forget things was not weakness, but a secret waiting to be unlocked? Part 1. The Puzzle of the Forgotten Mind. Evelyn sat in the library, her notebook open but her eyes full of despair. She had been studying for weeks, yet every time she closed a book, the words seemed to vanish. Dates, definitions, even simple vocabulary, gone, like water slipping through her fingers. She whispered to herself, "Why can't I remember? My brain feels full, but nothing stays." Her best friend, Daniel, leaned across the table and said quietly, "Evelyn, your problem isn't memory. It's method. You're trying to carry water in a basket. You need a better container." But Evelyn shook her head. "I've tried everything, writing, rereading, highlighting. Nothing works." Daniel smiled, his eyes glowing with mystery. "Not everything. There are techniques, Evelyn. Ancient ones, modern ones. Ways to make memory sharp as a blade. Would you like to learn?" For the first time that night, her heart flickered with hope. She nodded. Daniel pulled a small card from his pocket. On it, a single word was written: focus. "Tonight," he said, "we begin with the first key. If you can master attention, memory will follow." Evelyn frowned. "Attention? But how?" "Think of your brain like sunlight," Daniel explained. "When it spreads wide, it warms but doesn't burn. But when you focus it through a magnifying glass, it can set fire to anything. Your attention is that magnifying glass. Without it, nothing will stick." Evelyn leaned closer. "Show me." Daniel placed 5 random objects on the table: a pen, a coin, a glass of water, a red book, and a pair of keys. "You have 10 seconds. Look at them. Study them. Then close your eyes." Evelyn obeyed. She closed her eyes and tried to recall. There was the pen, a glass of water, a coin, a red book, and keys. Daniel clapped softly. "See? Already your memory works." But here's the trick. Most people let their minds wander when they look. They don't truly see. When you train focus, memory becomes natural. Her chest warmed with excitement. For the first time, she believed maybe she could remember, not by force, but by learning the art of focus. That night, Evelyn returned home with a strange fire in her heart. For years, she had thought her mind was weak. But now she wondered, what was only waiting for the right key to unlock its true power? Seedling learning focus. In this part, notice how we use metaphors. Carrying water in a basket means trying to memorize without proper technique. Your attention as a magnifying glass shows how focus makes memory stronger. For grammar, you saw past simple tense. She whispered. He smiled. She nodded. These show clear actions completed in the past. You also saw past continuous. Her heart was flickering with hope, describing ongoing feelings. Here's a question for you. Backhand index pointing right. What everyday situation makes your attention wander the most? Try retelling the scene with the 5 objects in your own words. Practice using past simple verbs like she looked, she remembered, she named. Sparkles, this is just the beginning. Evelyn has discovered the first key, focus. But many more secrets await, ways to strengthen memory, sharpen concentration, and learn English more deeply than ever. Part 2, the map inside the mind. The next day, Evelyn met Daniel in a quiet park. Birds sang in the branches and the air smelled of grass. She carried a notebook, ready to write every secret down. Daniel shook his head gently. "No notes today. Today you'll learn something you'll never forget. If you trust me." Evelyn's eyebrows rose. "Never forget?" Daniel picked up a small stone and drew a circle in the dirt. Inside it, he placed a leaf, a stick, and a flower. "Look carefully. What do you see?" Evelyn sighed. "A leaf, a stick, and a flower." "Wrong. Daniel whispered with a smile. You see a garden. Memory doesn't like lonely facts. It loves stories, pictures, connections. If you want to remember, don't hold single words. Build a world around them. He called it the Memory Palace. You imagine a place, he explained, a house, a street, even this park. Then you put the things you want to remember inside it as images. The stranger the image, the stronger the memory. Evelyn frowned. I don't understand. Daniel pointed to the stick. Let's say you want to remember the word discipline. Imagine this stick as a soldier standing guard at your door. Every time you see it in your mind, you'll think of discipline. He pointed to the flower. Now for the word hope. Imagine this flower glowing like a tiny sun in your hand. Bright, fragile, but powerful. Finally, he pointed to the leaf. N for the word freedom. Picture the leaf flying through the sky like a green bird. No chains, no cage. Evelyn closed her eyes and tried. In her mind, the soldier stood firm. The flower shone. The leaf flew free. A smile spread across her face. I can see them, and I think I'll never forget them. That, Daniel said softly, is the second key. Turn words into pictures. Turn facts into stories. Your brain is not a cage for information. It is a stage where imagination makes memory come alive. Evelyn felt as if she had discovered a secret door inside herself. For years, she had forced memory like a heavy weight. Now she saw it could be playful, creative, even joyful. As the sun set behind the trees, she whispered, So memory is not about pressure, it's about pictures. Daniel nodded. Exactly. The mind remembers best not what is forced, but what is felt. Seedling learning focus. Here, you learned about the Memory Palace technique. This method has been used for centuries, even by ancient Greek thinkers. The key idea is connect facts with vivid, unusual images. Notice the idiom. Memory doesn't like lonely facts. It loves stories. This means isolated information is hard to keep, but connected images stay longer. For grammar, pay attention to the repeated use of imperatives. Imagine this stick. Picture the leaf. Build a world. Imperatives are used to give direct instructions, very common in teaching or guiding. Here's a question for you. Backhand index pointing right. Can you create your own memory palace with 3 English words you want to remember? Describe the pictures you would use. Sparkles Evelyn now knows how to focus and how to build vivid pictures in her mind. But memory still has another enemy, distraction. In the next part, Daniel will show her how to strengthen concentration and protect her attention from wandering. Part 3, the battle with distraction. Evelyn sat at her desk that night, eager to practice her new memory palace. But as soon as she opened her book, her phone buzzed. A message, then another. She tried to ignore them, but curiosity pulled her in. Minutes became half an hour. When she looked up, the page was still blank. Frustrated, she whispered, How can I learn if the world keeps stealing my mind? The next day, Daniel listened carefully as she explained her struggle. He smiled not with judgment, but with understanding. Distraction, he said, is the thief of memory. If focus is your sword and imagination your shield, then concentration is your armor. Without it, you will always lose the battle. He handed her a small egg timer, the kind used in kitchens. This is your new weapon. It's called the Pomodoro. Set it for 25 minutes. During that time, do only one thing. No phone, no wandering. Just a task. When it rings, take a 5-minute rest. Then return. One block at a time. Your attention will grow stronger. Evelyn raised an eyebrow. Only 25 minutes? That sounds too short. Exactly, Daniel replied. It's short enough for your brain not to panic, but long enough to build progress. Concentration is like a muscle. Train it little by little, and soon you will lift far more than you thought possible. That night, Evelyn tried. She set the timer, opened her book, and whispered, just 25 minutes. At first, her mind jumped restlessly, but she forced herself back each time. When the timer rang, she was surprised. The page was covered with notes. She had actually learned something. After a short break, she did another round, and another. By the end of the evening, she had studied more than she had in an entire week before. Lying in bed, she thought, distraction is powerful, but maybe I could be stronger. Seedling learning focus. This part teaches a Pomodoro technique, a time management method that builds concentration step by step. Notice how Daniel used metaphors. Distraction is a thief of memory, and concentration is your armor. These images make abstract ideas more vivid. For grammar, you saw comparatives. Short enough, long enough, stronger than. Comparatives are used to show differences in degree or ability. A question for you. Backhand index pointing right. When do distractions usually attack you? At school, at work, or in free time? How would you use the Pomodoro method in that moment? Part 4, The Power of Two Senses. A week later, Evelyn was sitting in the library again, this time with earbuds in her ears. She was listening to an English audiobook while following the same text on the page. After 10 minutes, she noticed something surprising. The words seemed to stick faster. Their rhythm, their sound, even their spelling, all clearer than before. When Daniel arrived, she told her with excitement, "It feels different when I hear and read at the same time, almost like the words are alive." Daniel nodded. "Exactly. This is the secret of dual input. Your brain is like a painter. The eyes give color. The ears give music. When you use both together, memory becomes a masterpiece." He explained further, "When you only read, the mind sometimes drifts. When you only listen, you may forget how a word looks. But when you combine the two, the word enters from two doors. It becomes harder to lose." To test it, Daniel gave her a short paragraph in English. The morning was quiet. A single bird was singing in the garden. Evelyn closed her eyes and listened to the soft sound, feeling the peace of the moment. He asked her to read it silently while he played the recording. The words wrapped around her like a gentle wave. "Now," Daniel said, "close the book. Tell me what you remember." Evelyn repeated almost every sentence, her voice trembling with surprise. "It stayed. I didn't even try so hard, but it stayed." "That," Daniel said, "is the power of listening and reading together. Never separate them if you want deep memory." That night, Evelyn walked home with new energy. The world seemed full of hidden teachers, the voices in podcasts, the subtitles in movies, the songs on the radio. Everywhere, English could become not just study, but life. Seedling learning focus. This section shows how combining listening and reading strengthens memory. The phrase "the word enters from two doors" is a metaphor for multi-sensory learning. For grammar, notice the past continuous and words were wrapping around her like a gentle wave. It describes an ongoing experience. Also, the present simple appears in Daniel's teaching. Your brain is like a painter. The eyes give color. The ears give music. This shift makes the explanation timeless. Reflection question. Backhand index pointing right. Do you prefer learning English by reading, listening, or both? How could you combine them in your daily life? Part 5. The secret of repetition. Evelyn was making fast progress now. Her focus was stronger. Her memory palace was growing, and listening while reading had become a joyful habit. But one problem remained. After a few days, much of what she learned seemed to fade. She confessed to Daniel, "It's strange. I study, I remember, but then after some time, it disappears. Like footprints in the sand, washed away by the tide." Daniel smiled knowingly. "You've discovered the law of forgetting. The brain does not lose knowledge because it is weak. It forgets because it thinks the knowledge is unimportant. If you don't return to it, your brain decides to throw it away." Evelyn frowned. "So how do I tell my brain something is important?" "With spaced repetition," Daniel explained. "Review not once, but many times. First after 1 day, then after 3, then after a week, then after a month. Each review strengthens a memory, like adding layers of stone to a wall." To demonstrate, Daniel wrote 3 words on a piece of paper. Courage, patience, kindness. "Close your eyes," he said. "Picture them. Now repeat after me." They said the words together. Then he folded the paper and put it in her bag. "Tomorrow, review them. After that, again in 3 days. Then in a week. Soon they will never leave you. Evelyn's eyes widened. So memory is not about cramming once. It's about touching the knowledge again and again. Exactly, Daniel said. A single touch fades, but repeated touches carve the knowledge deep into the mind. Think of it as a path in a forest. If you walk once, the grass grows back. If you walk every day, the path becomes permanent. That night, Evelyn tried it with her English vocabulary. Instead of learning 50 new words, she reviewed just 10, then met them again the next day and again a few days later. Slowly, she noticed a difference. The words were no longer strangers. They had become old friends, waiting for her whenever she needed them. Seedling learning focus. This section introduces spaced repetition, one of the most effective memorization techniques. Notice the metaphor. A path in a forest becomes permanent when you walk it every day. This paints a clear picture of how review creates lasting memory. Grammar highlight. Repetition often uses the future simple tense in promises or instructions. They will never leave you. You will remember if you review. The future simple makes the technique feel certain and reliable. Reflection question. Backhand index pointing right, think of 3 English words you've learned recently. How would you review them using the 1 day, 3 days, 1 week method? Part 6. The Fire of Emotion. One rainy afternoon, Evelyn and Daniel sat in a quiet cafe. Evelyn was frustrated again. She sighed. I've been reviewing words, using repetition, but some still slip away. Why is it easier to remember a sad movie or a funny story than a vocabulary list? Daniel stirred his tea slowly. Because memory is not only logic. Memory is emotion. What touches a heart, the brain keeps forever. He leaned forward. Tell me, do you remember the first time someone broke your trust? Evelyn's eyes widened. Of course. And the happiest birthday you ever had? Yes, she whispered, smiling faintly. Daniel nodded. See? You didn't need spaced repetition for those. They stayed because they carried feelings. That is the 6th key. Connect learning with emotion. He pulled out a notebook and wrote the word freedom. Now, don't just repeat it. Tell me, what story or feeling do you connect with this word? Evelyn thought for a moment. Her voice grew soft. When I was a child, my parents let me run across a wide field. No rules, no fences. I felt like I could fly. That was freedom. Daniel smiled. And now the word is not just letters. It is tied to your heart. You will never forget it. He gave her more words. Fear, love, courage, memory. For each one, Evelyn created a scene, a moment from her life, a piece of her story. Some made her laugh. Some made her quiet. Some brought tears. And as she spoke, the words grew roots inside her. Later that evening, walking home in the rain, she whispered the words again. They came easily like old songs. She realized the truth. Knowledge without emotion fades, but knowledge tied to a feeling becomes eternal. Seedling learning focus. This part shows how emotional connection strengthens memory. Notice the phrase knowledge tied to a feeling becomes eternal. It teaches that emotion acts like glue for memory. Grammar point. Evelyn used past simple when recalling memories. I felt like I could fly. My parents let me run. Past simple often carries the weight of stories, making them memorable. Reflection question. Backhand index pointing right, choose 1 English word, like hope or fear. Can you connect it to a memory or story from your own life? Say it aloud with that feeling, and notice how it sticks. Part 7. The Rhythm of Memory. The next morning, Evelyn found Daniel waiting for her at the park. But this time, he didn't bring books or notes. He brought music. He placed a small speaker on the bench, and soon a soft rhythm began to play. Evelyn tilted her head. What does music have to do with memory? Daniel's eyes sparkled. Everything. Rhythm is nature's oldest teacher. Babies learn language through lullabies. Ancient poets remembered long epics because they sang them. The brain is not just a library. It's also a drum. He clapped his hands in a simple beat. Repeat after me. Together they chanted. Focus. Picture. Repeat. Feel. The words dance with the rhythm, light and playful. Evelyn laughed. It's like a song. Exactly, Daniel said. When you tie information to rhythm or movement, it flows into your memory faster. That's why you remember lyrics after hearing a song just a few times, or why children remember rhymes without effort. He asked her to stand and walk slowly in circles. With each step, she repeated a new word aloud. Patience, strength, vision. The movement gave her mind a pulse, a body anchor for words. To test her, Daniel stopped the music and asked, "What were the 3 words?" Without hesitation, Evelyn answered, "Patience, strength, vision." She giggled. "It's so much easier this way." Daniel nodded. "This is the 7th key. Use rhythm, use movement. Let your body join your mind. When the body remembers, the brain does not forget." That evening, Evelyn tried it at home. She made small chants for her vocabulary, tapping her fingers on the desk in rhythm. She even walked around her room, repeating sentences while pacing. What once felt heavy now felt alive, almost playful. And as she fell asleep that night, the words whispered back in her dreams, not as dry facts, but as music. Seedling learning focus. This section highlights how rhythm and movement can boost memorization. Notice the metaphor. The brain is not just a library, it's also a drum. This connects memory to sound and beat. Grammar point. Imperative verbs appear again. Repeat after me. Stand. Walk. These simple commands guide practice, and learners often meet them in teaching materials. Reflection question. Backhand index pointing right, think of 3 English words you want to learn. How would you turn them into a short chant or rhythm to make them easier to remember? Part 8. The mastery of memory. Weeks had passed since Evelyn began her journey with Daniel. She had learned to focus, to build vivid pictures, to fight distraction, to combine reading and listening, to repeat with rhythm, and to tie words to her emotions. Yet she still wondered, have I truly changed? Or am I just pretending? One evening, Daniel invited her to the library where it had all begun. On the table lay a stack of English cards. 50 words, each one new. Daniel's voice was calm but firm. Tonight is your test. You will learn these words, not by force, not by panic, but by using every key you now hold. Evelyn's hands trembled. 50 words? In one evening? She wanted to protest, but then she saw his steady gaze and nodded. She began with focus, shutting out the whispers of doubt. Then she built a memory palace, placing the words inside her grandmother's old house, the kitchen, the hallway, the garden. Each word became an image. Next, she worked in Pomodoro blocks, 25 minutes of study, then short rests. She whispered each word aloud, combining reading with listening through recordings. When her mind grew tired, she returned to repetition, circling back after short gaps. Some words she tied to her feelings: love, sorrow, joy. Others she sang in rhythms, tapping her pen on the desk like a drum. Hours passed, but instead of despair, she felt energy, flow, even joy. The once heavy weight of memory had turned into a dance. Finally, Daniel closed the cards. "Now tell me," he said simply. Evelyn closed her eyes. One by one, the words appeared, glowing images, voices, songs, emotions, footsteps in her memory palace. She recited them all, 50, without a mistake. When she opened her eyes, Daniel was smiling. You see, memory was never your enemy. It was your untrained ally. You only needed to guide it. Tears touched her eyes. She whispered. So it wasn't about being gifted. It was about using the right methods. That, Daniel said softly, is the greatest lesson. Memory is not magic. Memory is method. And method is something anyone can learn. As Evelyn walked home under the silver moonlight, she felt lighter than ever before. She knew the journey wasn't finished. There would always be more to learn, more to practice. But she also knew this truth. Her mind was no longer a battlefield of forgetting. It was a garden she could cultivate, a palace she could build, a song she could sing. For the first time, she whispered with pride, I will never fear learning again. Seedling final learning focus. This last part brings all the techniques together. Focus, memory palace, Pomodoro, dual input, space repetition, emotion, rhythm, and movement. Key idioms. Memory was never your enemy. It was your ally, a shift in perspective. Her mind was a garden, a palace, a song. Metaphor showing memory as something alive and creative. Grammar point. The past perfect appears and she had learned to focus. She had built a palace. This connects past lessons to her final victory. Reflection question. Backhand index pointing right, which of the 8 techniques do you feel will help you the most in your own English learning? Glowing star, thank you for staying through this full 8-part story. If this journey inspired you, remember to subscribe, like, and share so more learners can grow with us. In the comments, tell us, which memorization technique will you try first?